Let's welcome in now Texas Congressman Pat Fallon to talk about this and more. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me on.
Every week I say this, and I can't believe I'm saying it again, but this might actually be the swampiest thing I've heard in a long time. I mean, can you imagine anyone in this position where you have to criticize your wife's performance on the job? Definitely seems like a conflict of interest.
You know, John, it's a massive conflict of interest. The fact that the January 6th committee has proven themselves time and again to be nothing but a farce, a star chamber, and a clown show. They hire the second highest ranking person in the Sergeant at Arms office, who they're investigating for security failures on January 6th, and hire her husband to consult for them. I mean, it's just absurd. And, you know, a lot of Americans don't realize that Nancy Pelosi broke and shattered protocol, because when there's any kind of a committee, the Republicans choose their members and the Democrats choose theirs. And she thought that, oh, my God, Jim Banks and Jim Jordan are going to do such a good job. We can't have that. And that's never happened before. So this is obviously just an absolute kangaroo court.
So many questions here. And, you know, as a taxpayer, $93,000 in that critical amount of time going to a consultant, which obviously, you know, there's nothing that was done that prevented this from happening in the first place. Maybe we want our money back as well. Let's move on, though. I want to talk to you about what's going on with the border and that other report we mentioned. There's a new poll from NPR that shows more Americans, more than half of Americans now believe there is an invasion at the southern border. Now, I know you've used terms like invasion before because that's what it is, but we wanted to point out the fact this is an NPR poll. Now, NPR is polling this, and they are also getting this from Americans, an invasion. There's no other thing we can call it other than what it is, an invasion.
No, John, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was talking to my good friend Bruce Brooks from Tyler, Texas, and he was telling me the same thing. I mean, people see this everywhere in Texas, and Joe Biden has made every state a border state. Let's just look at the tail of the tape. We had 234,000 illegal border crossings in April of this year, which is the worst on record. It was 1,258% worse than the last April that President Trump was in office, but only to be eclipsed in May with 240,000 illegal border crossers, which was 930% worse than the last May President Trump was in office. We've had nearly a million, actually over a million illegal border crossings, John, in just the last 4 months. This is an egregious dereliction of duty by Homeland Security Director Alejandro Mayorkas, saying that the border is secure. He's lying about it. And the fact that in over 600 days in office, Joe Biden has never even visited the southern border.
Yeah. Well, if Republicans take back both the Senate and the House, is there any talk about a deportation bill or anything like that? I know President Biden would never sign that, but you got to come to that conclusion at this point. If a million people are coming across the border, you know, illegally in such a short period of time, let's just assume most of them are coming across illegally, is it at the point now where we need to start talking about mass deportation?
Well, yeah, there's going to be a lot of bills, and I think that they'll pass out of the House. And hopefully if we get the Republicans to get the Senate back and pass out of the Senate, and then force Biden to show his true colors and have him veto those bills. Those are very good bills. I've already filed a bill that eliminates the green card lottery, puts a penalty of $1,000 per day if you overstay a visa, and clarifies what truly is political asylum. And we need to be letting people in the country legally due to merit and merit alone. Because, you know, Joe Biden has really allowed just a de facto open border, and it's an immoral border, and it's immoral for the folks south of it and north of it.
Now, there's a group of House Republicans that says the Department of Homeland Security is planning to use taxpayer money to fund migrant transportation. Specifically, they're going to use Amtrak now. This is Joe Biden's beloved baby Amtrak. Have you heard about this? And if so, what are you planning to do to try and stop it?
Well, I have. And, you know, the fact of the matter is there's no speculation as to whether or not Joe Biden has been using taxpayer money to put these migrants all over the country. They're scattered everywhere. I've seen it with my own eyes. If you go down to the southern border and you go to the airports down there, you'll see really airplane loads of folks that are getting flown all around the country. They don't have the money to pay for it. And they have little manila envelopes that say, excuse me, I don't speak English, please help me with my connections, etc. So this has been going on for quite some time now, whether it's by bus or by air. And now I guess train is something new because Joe Biden wants to be equitable and help out his friends at Amtrak, apparently. But we're going to find this stuff out. I'll be honest with you, John. It's there's a lot of limited options, or our options are limited when we're in the minority. But that's not going to last much longer. And when we take over the House in January, the Oversight Committee, of which I sit on, is going to have several hearings and compel people to testify under oath as to what's really going on at the southern border.
If you've traveled across this country recently at a major airport like Atlanta, you've probably seen exactly what the congressman is talking about there. I had a friend, John Work, he was on our show last week down there at Eagle Pass in Del Rio, Texas. He was at the Del Rio airport and said there are more illegal aliens flying out of Del Rio than there were Americans in the airport. And again, that raises the question, who is paying for this stuff? And what are we going to do to stop it? Great to see you, Congressman Pat Fallon from Texas. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, John. God bless. Take care.